I want to quickly run through the connections that you're seeing here on our table. My guitar input is coming into this BB preamp. And then the first connection here, and it's color-coded and labeled very clearly up here, but I'm coming in the input. And then my first send in the first loop is coming out into the eventide time factor here. And so we are coming in mono, but we're splitting the signal, coming out left and right from the eventide, and we're coming in to the return on the stereo X blender here, left and right. I do want to point out that if you're just running mono, if I was just coming back with the left signal from my eventide, I'm going to only use the left return. And again, even though I'm playing mono, I can bring it out left and right outputs and send it to two different amps like we have set up here. So you can go in mono, you can still come out with a stereo sound. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that when you're using effects like the eventide time factor or rack units, it's beneficial to set the kill dry in those effects to be enabled, essentially. And what does that mean? When you're dealing with wets and dries and mixing, all that kind of stuff, phasing is very common. And what that means, if we've got a dry signal and then we've got another dry signal that's got a little bit of effect on it, it can start to get things out of phase. It's going to degrade your tone a little bit. If you enable kill dry, and again, most of these good effects have some kind of kill dry enable, it cuts out the dry signal so that you're going in with a dry signal but coming back out with a wet signal, which is what we're doing today. And the X blender is what is leaving the option to have all dry or all wet in that sense. So it's all about keeping the purest tone possible. So again, even though we're seeing a lot of connections here, we're keeping the tone as pure as possible while making our setup as easy as possible to keep our chain as guitar to amp as possible. I think that's the ultimate goal. But obviously we love to use pedals. We want to use some overdrive, some delays, some reverbs, etc. So the X blender enables us to keep our tone as good as possible and have complete control over those effects with our wet and dry knobs.